Yo, 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 yo. You're here with the second episode officially on I Stand On That podcast. Now, we have me, myself, and I, a.k.a. Mr. Daily Insight, a.k.a. Lump. Who do we have next?
DA. That's all it is. That's all it's going to be.
Okay. And listen, you definitely got OG Bobby Johnson, the man with the plan, Word Slayer, Word Smith. Listen, I got a million names. Call me anything you want. Just don't call me broken. Don't call me dumb or ignorant, baby.
Mm-hmm. And you tapping in with Jay Bird, always with the positive word. Yes, indeed.
So listen, man. Mr. Daily Insight got us all here again. We're going to start this off with some sports talk, man. Like, just on some real talk, there's a lot since the Super Bowl that's kind of transpired. And so kind of jumping into that, I just thought it was real interesting. I saw an article that somebody put out where we ain't even going to talk about Brady being drunk, about to throw his baby off the boat. But what we will talk about is, somebody tweeted out a little picture of Jordan with the rings. Right. And then they had the little illustration of Brady with the rings. Right? And, since we're talking about GOAT level status, I guess we got to be honest. Bill Russell must have took some exception to that, right? So he tweeted out, a picture of him with the rings and said...
Wait, how many does he have?
Yeah, let's talk about how many
talk about that first.
So obviously we all know that Jordan's 6 for 6, right? Mm-hmm. We know Brady is 7 for 10, right? Listen, Russell is 11 for 11, but he's got 11 in 14 years. You know what I'm saying? I'm correct on that, right, DA? He's got 11?
I believe so.
Okay, so Russell tweeted out a picture of himself with the 11 rings and said, yeah, you're almost there. You're catching up. Keep working on it, buddy. And I almost feel like, personally, I love this pettiness out of Bill Russell. Mm-hmm. Right? Bill Russell stays silent all the time in the conversation about the GOAT. Mm-hmm. Right? He lets people say that Jordan's the greatest of all time. Mm-hmm. He just lets it ride. Mm-hmm. I think maybe he took some exception to so you're gonna say this guy? Come on, stop. You're not gonna keep having these conversations without remembering that I got 11 rings. I just want to know, we'll start with Lump because, he's our resident expert on sports and athletics because he's the athlete of the group. He's the most accomplished athlete in the group, to say the least. Mm-hmm. So let's start with Lump. Lump, first of all, do you love this pettiness out of Bill Russell, right? And who is in the pantheon? Who's on the Mount Rushmore, right? I don't know. Where does Brady meet this mold that we're talking about?
Well, first off, when you talk about this, you got basketball, then you got football. And why are we having a conversation about two different sports, to say the least? You understand? Can Brady play Bill Russell's sport?
Of course not. Come on, stop.
Okay, and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Bill Russell might be able to throw a football.
Hold on.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about that at a high level.
Let's say it right. Exactly.
Wait, what was that?
On that level.
At that level, at a high level.
Right, I don't think Bill Russell could get 7 Super Bowl rings.
And there is where I would say no. But as far as the sport in general, great. But the reason why we just brought level into it is because the level is definitely going to play a key component in this conversation. So
I don't, the pettiness, I love it because with myself, I do see someone, stating, hey, hey, you're not better than me. You kind of just laugh it off you keep working at it. You know what I'm saying? It shows that level of I don't think he'll ever get there, but he can try. That's kind of how I analyze it. You can play with it. You got 7, but you never catch me. You understand? So I kind of love the fact he's kind of bringing it up and he's low key just not making a big deal about it. Just all right, you got 7, good job, but you ain't gonna catch me. But it's two different sports, so that's my whole thing. I don't know why we're analyzing two different sports.
Well, we're talking about it because, and there's a reason why they juxtapose Brady's image with Michael Jordan's image, right? Michael Jordan won 6 NBA championships. We didn't say he was. People didn't stop and say that he was the best basketball player of all time. They said that he was the greatest athlete of all time. You see what I'm saying? And that's why that opens the door for other athletes in the other sports. Because when you say one person in one sport is better than and all athletes that play in your sport, you inviting a debate.
That's a great point, DA. I
You're
love the
inviting
point.
a debate.
I could bring up a name, Bo Jackson.
What does that mean?
Athletes, just all right.
Like, do you think he's the greatest athlete of all time?
He's up there in my opinion. This is just my opinion, just as an athlete. Period. Far as sports wise, now talking about him getting rings and all that
Accomplishment.
No, that's different. But we're gonna talk about athlete. That's totally different.
I mean, because we could
from a diversity level, when you say Bo Jackson, okay, greatest athlete of all time, why?
He can do a whole bunch.
Give me.
What did he play baseball?
Yeah, okay.
Very accomplished in that.
I mean, when you say accomplished, what do you mean by that?
I mean, he was like, let's not hold Bo Jackson like he wasn't a great baseball player.
I mean, but you said accomplished. So what did he accomplish? That's
I think what he's trying to say is that he was a great baseball player on an individual level, as far as his batting percentage, his batting averages,
The
steals.
sport in itself.
right?
Steals.
But he's
As
not
a
going
player in the sport, he was a force in baseball when he was healthy.
Yes.
I think you guys are exaggerating the fact that. I mean, was he?
I know you're young, but
No,
have you
I'm
ever
asking.
seen him?
I'm asking a real
That's
question.
another thing.
Was he Hall of Fame? Does anybody remember him having a Hall of Fame season?
Of course not. We're not. No.
Did he,
Hall of
did
Fame
he,
se-
did he have
I mean,
an
there's no
All-Star
such
season?
thing as a
Did
Hall
he-
of Fame
Okay,
season.
how about an All-Star season?
No, the thing.
Yeah,
with-
definitely he was an all-star.
Yes.
How many of those did he have?
Oh, well, I don't have the stats on those. Can we look that up? Yeah, at another time.
I just
we can.
said when we're talking about like even two-way athletes, we gotta be just because you could play two sports at a professional level. That's the bare minimum, right? Just being good enough to make the roster and being good enough to get some playing time. But there's a point after that. We're talking about it from what are you doing in terms of challenging who we consider the best in this sport. Was he ever considered top 5 or top 10 or top 15 or top 20 or top 30?
Well, Bo
in
Jackson.
baseball?
So just a little known fact, right? According to what we see online, Bo Jackson is actually the only professional athlete in history to be named an all-star in both baseball and football.
It's good.
And I think that's why he's saying what he's saying is, listen, on an individual level, just in a snapshot, right? Bo Jackson was an all-star in 2 sports. If he had not gotten injured, we don't know where he would have been. It's almost like the Biggie conversation in rap, in hip-hop, right? Bo Jackson, to me, is the Biggie of sports. He was cut short. We don't know what he would have been, but we do know that what we saw was epic.
Okay.
It was good.
So,
Bo knows. I'm just telling you.
Bo knows football.
It's just that
Bo knows
it's
baseball.
just that we've seen flashes from players who one like singular athlete sports, and we don't.
And we've also seen those players fall off for no reason. We don't know what the reason is.
No, but even if it's
This guy had a
even due to
legit
injury,
hip
even-
injury
even-
that
even
was
due to
like.
injury.
No, I know. I feel what you're
Like,
saying.
what's that kid name? Brandon Roy. He ain't a kid no more, of course. But I'm talking about. Remember Brandon Roy used to play. He was
no Bo Jackson though. We're not. We can't put him on a Bo Jackson level.
Well, he was damn sure good enough where he was the face of that franchise.
Bro, he wasn't Bo Jackson though. Understand that that's not an insult. That's to say he wasn't Bo Jackson doesn't mean to say he wasn't good.
Well, I'm giving you in a comparison of a player who career got cut short due to injury.
But what I'm saying is he was even if he had played out, he wasn't Bo Jackson.
okay,
I'd rather you say something like even Grant Hill would have been a closer.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I'm just saying,
but even he's still a 2-sport athlete.
So check this out. What the question is at hand, right?
Get back to it.
We're speaking about Bill Russell. We're speaking about accomplishments and greats of all time, right?
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, we also have to understand in this conversation about the difference in generations in which we're speaking from.
Absolutely.
So there's a different visual from each generation. You understand?
Yeah, different eras.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so with that being said, when I speak about Bill Russell, I look at Bill Russell from the accomplishments in which he put out, which were rings in which nobody else is touching. We're not talking about athleticism. We're not talking about the greatest scorer of all time. We're talking about accomplishments. He accomplished 11 of them. He has more rings than he has fingers. Okay?
And I do want to correct myself that I said 11 and 14. It was actually 11 and 13. So just to correct that, the man there was only 2 years in his entire career where he wasn't
high ratio
a champion. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I also just touching on one last thing. When we look at greats, for some reason it's always the basketball and the baseball comparison, which is great. And this gentleman here brought up about the actual football and basketball, how you can't compare. There are many greats in basketball who could have took the football route.
That's right.
And I'm pretty sure that there's many greats in football that could have took the basketball route, right? But we've never, in my knowledge, I don't know one that's been able to take both. Can any of you speak on that?
They haven't committed. We had Allen Iverson.
Absolutely.
He played quarterback, receiver. Then we talk about LeBron James.
LeBron James.
He played it as well.
Absolutely.
So there are a lot of players that we can come up. So I understand. You understand? What if they would have stick to one sport? And
I mean, you do have that with you got certain players what's the kid tight end from Miami?
Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham. He played basketball at the University of Miami. He also played football while he was there too. He just decided to become a football player.
Well, listen, technically, I just want to put it out there that he played basketball until he realized that it didn't look like his basketball career was going to go to that level. And so when he was invited to play football, right, it was kind of like it was that last chance swing, and it just happened to be a monster swing because he's a beast. He's an absolute beast. And I'm not taking away that he was good at basketball, right? But the narrative was that the prospects on him for professional were not very good.
I mean,
right?
Yeah. I mean, it just by default, it's less players in the NBA than in the NFL. But one thing I think the only thing I take exception with is calling it petty on the part of Bill Russell, because
it's a little petty.
I don't think so, because at the end of the day,
did you see the picture though? Just analyze.
I saw it.
Analyze the picture. The rings. He's like this, hands on. You know what I'm saying?
I saw it, and I loved it. But I don't think he was being petty.
So
I think is because you know what? Because the reason why we even shocked by this is because for far too long, Bill Russell been quiet, hoping that the people would speak for him, and people haven't. And I'm actually glad that
Good point.
It's 2021, and so in 2020 we done lost a lot of people, and we could have easily lost him.
Yeah.
And what Tom Brady did could have still have happened, right?
Correct.
And if we had lost him, who was going to speak for Bill Russell?
I'm with you on
His rings.
But
the Congress to speak for it. No one has to
really
speak.
going to speak up? Who really going to speak up?
His
By
Hall
him
of Fame,
doing that,
listen.
he was like, one, I'm alive. Okay, I need to respect the fact that I'm alive and try to garner any piece of information about life and about career success, about anything about how to live your life while you can, because any day I could kick the fucking bucket.
Yeah.
And then two, respect what I did. Okay, because a lot of people also discredit Bill Russell because he was a big man.
No.
Yeah.
He doesn't get discredited because he was a big man.
He does.
He gets discredited, and I wouldn't even call it discrediting. I think that's extremely harsh. Right, and so listen, we're gonna kind of wrap this up.
I'm being harsh on the critics. I'm not being harsh on him.
I feel you, no, but what I'm saying is, I think but part of it is just that what we want to say in today's world, as you guys mentioned earlier, when you go through the generations, Bill Russell as an extremely big man, right, played in an era where no one was anywhere near his physical stature, and he was just so dominant, and that's not his fault.
That's not his fault. It would have been a shame had he been so big and so talented.
Mopping floors.
I
don't want to see a big ass janitor. I do know that. I don't like big janitors. You know what I'm saying?
One thing that I can say is that Bill Russell stands on all 11 of those rings.
Absolutely.
And he stands on them in a way in which he should, because he set the precedent for what came after.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, here's what we can end this with, right? I think we got to just end this with something real simple, which is this. Jordan, GOAT talk. Right? Brady, GOAT talk. Bill Russell,
Elite.
GOAT talk.
Elite.
Yeah.
Right?
And we need
Big
to,
GOAT talk.
And we
Big
need to
GOAT talk, yeah.
and we need to
And we
every
need
chance
to
we
give
get,
him his flowers. Let's
we
give him
need
his
to give him his
flowers.
flowers, please.
Here's what he just said. Listen, it's not petty because this is significant to me. And so at the end of the day, if pettiness is about insignificance or trivialness, he's saying this ain't trivial. This is important to me. So, listen, let's end that on, here's what we stand on. Bill Russell's a GOAT. Let's give him his flowers while he's here because we losing too many of our heroes right now. Right? And I stand on that.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up. We got episode 2 of this podcast. I stand on that. So we're gonna wrap this up and